If there are any galleries watching, hit me up. Hey everyone, today I want to talk about disappointment, but first let's head over to the studio. So I'm back down in the studio now. It's so cold. Focus. I mean, I've got no heating down here. Today I wanted to talk about disappointment, like I said earlier. The reason I want to talk about this is because as an artist you end up experiencing it. Well, in my experience so far, I've experienced it. The other thing is, you tend to get a lot of advice, you tend to attract a lot of advice in this sort of line of work because people think you don't know what you're doing. And the reality is, I don't know what I'm doing, but neither do you. Neither do the people that are giving me advice. We're all here on this planet for the first time, as far as I understand anyway. And you know, for example, when you're a new parent, you can read all the baby books, you can do whatever you want, but in reality, when you do it, you're doing it for the first time, and you're not an expert. And everyone around you that claims to be an expert is also doing it for the first, second, third. You have 20 kids, that's 20 times. That, in my mind, doesn't make you an expert. We're all winging it. We're all trying to figure out what to do. So you've got to kind of make a judgment call of people who you respect and people who you think actually do know what they're talking about, and follow their advice, or take it with a pinch of salt, you know. Listen to what they say and assimilate the information, and then come to your own conclusion. You've got to follow your own gut instinct in life, because at the end of the day, you're the one that's stuck with the consequences of your actions. You're the one that gets the credit, and you're the one that has to reap the negativity if you make a bad decision. In terms of, you know, people see my work, or friends of friends, and in person they say, oh, I love the work and I really want to buy it, or I really want to be involved, or something like that. Or people offer gallery spaces, or offer to hang the work for free for exposure, or anything along those lines. And maybe I'm naive and innocent, or I was, but they don't follow through, and that can be quite tough, and that's something that I wasn't really prepared for. I thought when you make a quality piece of artwork and someone appreciates it and says they want to buy it, want to help you out, then they're going to do what they say. But yeah, that's one of the realities of working in this line of work. Well, that's what I've found so far anyway. And it hits me quite hard, because I think that I'm a type of person that when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. I mean what I say, and it's really strange to come to the realization that other people aren't actually like that. To use a common proverb, it's out of sight, out of mind. And I suppose I'm recording this as a kind of warning or insight to how I found it so far. The implications of this, one of the positives that I've gleaned from doing, or from being exposed to this line of behaviour, is that you learn to kind of judge the situation better. You learn to trust your gut. And what I mean by this is, you know, this isn't a laid out easy route where you go and do A and A equals B and B equals C. You've got to really kind of find your own path in that. And again, that hasn't really been discussed. I wasn't really warned about it, and it's something that I've had to kind of understand through doing what I've been doing. And I want to talk about the implications of that with people. My generation especially, I came across a term called FOMO, and it's like fear of missing out. So people don't want to commit because they think that something might be better around the corner. You know, you offer to meet up for a drink, or to go to the cinema, or do whatever, and people say, oh yeah, maybe. And it's a similar sort of reaction to, in my mind, to them saying, oh yeah, I want to be involved in your work. And we've not been taught as a generation these like social rules, or they've changed or something. Social media has a lot of benefits, undeniably, but there is this huge negative that, again, it's the FOMO, or like some sort of positive filter where you tend to go on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter or Snapchat or Instagram or any of the whatever, and you see the best of other people. You see what they want you to see, and you see it filtered and in the most positive light. And there have been numerous reports of this where people are depressed and not showing themselves to be true, but on Instagram, on their social media, they're having the best time of their lives. So you're here and you're looking at someone and their life seems here, when in reality it might be here, but we're only seeing this very polished, edited, conditioned side to things. And I think that sort of plays into that experience that I had, and understanding and learning about that, or reflecting on it as kind of, yeah. Another big lesson that I kind of learned was about luck and people's perceptions of luck. And I'm someone that believes that you make your own luck. And let me explain what I mean by this. There was a study that was done, I think, by a guy called Dr. Wiseman, Dr. Richard Wiseman, and I came across it again, I think, in a book called The Element by Ken Robinson, or Sir Ken Robinson now. I think he got knighted. And he's this fantastic educator. He was one of like the early guys on TED Talks, TED conferences. I'll put a link. And he wrote this book. I read a few of his books a couple of years ago, and I think it was in The Element though, where he discusses this like the luck factor, or this experiment that this guy Dr. Wiseman did, where they laid like a I think it was in pounds. I think they laid a £5 note on the floor, and they took a series of a group of people that deemed themselves lucky and a group that deemed themselves unlucky, and they put this £5 note on a floor in a setup by a cafe, by a coffee shop or something, and they filled the whole set. It wasn't a film, but you know, the whole experiment with actors, and the people that were in the experiment didn't realise this. They thought that they were just ordinary people, and those that found themselves, that considered themselves lucky, found the £5 note on the floor, like the experiment intended them to, walked into the coffee shop and bought a coffee. Often they struck up a conversation with the person beside them and said, "Hey, I just found £5 on the floor, you know, let me buy you a coffee," and you know, made a contact. The unlucky people, self-professed unlucky people, picked up the £5 note, went in and bought a coffee, and that was the end of it. At the end of the day, both test groups were asked, what happened today? Did anything happen today that you would consider lucky? You know, and the lucky group, those self-perceived as lucky, said, yeah, I found £5 and went in to a coffee and met a really nice person, and we struck up a conversation, and they've added like a contact or a, you know, opportunity down the line. And the unlucky people said, nothing lucky happened to me today. And I found that really interesting, because it demonstrates that you, through making the effort with people, through really, look, if you go fishing once, there's a much less chance of catching a fish than if you go fishing 100 times. You know, it's the same sort of principle. The more you put yourself out there, the more effort you put into cultivating relationships with people and actually genuinely caring and understanding what they stand for. I'm not talking about superficiality. I'm talking about a genuine interest in other people. And if you can cultivate that, then I think it does bring you some sort of luck. And to bring it all back round, the reason I talked about disappointment in the beginning, because after a few years it's actually starting to pay off. You know, last month I sold 3 separate pieces to 3 different people. There are 2 other people looking at paintings that I'm actually going to do a demo of later, and it's starting to kind of take off a little bit. You know, it's really nice to see people paying actual decent money, you know, hard-earned cash. And we're not talking about like 30 or 40 euro here. We're talking about a substantial sum of money that I can actually, you know, live by. So yeah, I guess it was a kind of roundabout way of saying that it's going pretty well and I'm enjoying it, and let this be some sort of encouragement if anyone's watching that's going down the same sort of route. There are people that are interested in 2 paintings at the moment, and it's a style that I did a couple of years ago. They saw the work, and now they are interested in these 2 pieces. It's actually twins, and I'm doing these 2 pieces that kind of reflect their personalities. one is very kind of structured and organised, and the other person's not unorganised but quite energetic and off the wall a little bit. And I'm kind of trying to put that a bit in the work, you know, take influence from knowing the people and putting their personality somewhere in between it. So they're the same size, same dimensions, same style, and these two are twins, and the surface kind of should reflect their personalities in some way. I don't normally do this, but it felt kind of poetically right, so I'm just going with it, and we'll see what happens. So I'm going to set up this sort of easel now in my studio and do a bit of painting. Not that easel, this easel.
Enough.
So I want to conclude this week's vlog by saying you've got to follow your own intentions, follow your own gut, and make your own decisions, because you're the one that's going to reap the rewards of your actions and the consequences that come with that. And with that, I'm going to say bye.